Ik ben Pim.
En ik ben Armen.
Mijn maatje Armen is als vluchteling naar Nederland gekomen. Hij vertelde me zijn verhaal en het ontroerde me. Daarom besloten we samen om LHBT+-vluchtelingen op te zoeken en hun verhaal te delen. Want
vluchteling is een naam dat ze geven naar ons. Maar er staat altijd verhalen achter de naam. En vandaag
gaan we naar Alex.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. Good.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
So first of all, to make things clear to everyone that's watching, how do you identify yourself?
I identify myself as queer, and for me, I used to identify myself as non-binary, who's someone not completely as a female or not completely as a male. And now I identify and I just say queer because it's more a general term, an umbrella term.
How was it like growing up in Syria?
It was very nice growing up there. I really enjoyed my time. I come from a middle upper class family, and I was, surrounded with so much love. My mother, for example, worked in the Ministry of Finance. My father is a military general, with high status, and they could offer me everything almost that I want, until the moment where I, found out that I'm queer, that I'm not like all other youth. Then things started going differently, and I was bullied a lot in school for being feminine. My parents also thought that was something going on. They also wanted, in a way, for me to be more masculine, and that I didn't feel safe in school. I didn't feel safe at home, and because I was very sheltered because of the war, I couldn't go anywhere, and I was always either school or home. And wherever I go, I would go with the company of my parents. So not finding any refuge brought me in a deep depression until I decided to run away at the age of 17.
You felt like you were different,
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to run away,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, to where you could feel yourself.
Exactly.
How did that go?
I think I already made this kind of decision that I wanted to go to flee, I think, around the age of 13, but it didn't worked out till I got older, and because of the war it was also a kind of more justified for my parents to even let me leave. I went to Turkey, I took the boat, and then I went to Greece, and
In the news people hear terrible stories about it. How was that experience for you? Do you want to share something about it?
Yeah, it was terrible. I was underage by myself, and smugglers, they just think of you as a number, and they charge a huge amount of money, many thousands of euros, and you basically end up staying in forests like me. They had to drink from the sea, for example. The Greek coast police, they shot at us, even live ammunition. And we basically swam back running inside of the forest. The coast police, they were filming me and then even laughing at us that we want, some shelter. I ended up in Germany. I lived around 10 months there, where I was living with German underaged. They found like the youth protection, child protection, that it's more safe for me than to stay in the camp. But here they expect us to be just as minorities, any ethnic or cultural or religious minority, that they need to get along and on all of that, and they don't see that they need to make a difference. And I think thinking of us, of other minorities, that they are one homogeneous people, is in of itself racist.
How was the feeling? What did you feel?
I feel the first 2 years that I spent in the camp as being in jail. I wasn't allowed to study. I wasn't allowed to do anything.
So, as you can see, also the Dutch harsh weather, but you also mentioned that the END sometimes can be very harsh. Can you also give some examples of what happened actually in the camp?
Well, I think in general from the beginning it is very inhumane procedure. And I don't think that there is any refugee that doesn't have any IND trauma, because first you go there and then they would like take everything away from you, your phone, your anything, and then you will have to wait for hours. And then they will speak to you for 8 hours or long. That was my case. And so I can prove if I am, you know, gay, queer or not, whatever, homosexual. They're very, very untrained. They also need proofs for everything. Right. They would confuse sexuality with sex.
Right.
So if you would say, for example, someone like me who was like 17 years old who went out of their country, right. If I would say, for example, I didn't have sex or I was not into, you know, having sex, but more like emotions, right. thing, they will reject your case. You would have to tell them that you are there after, like, you know, having sex and after, because they would confuse that too. You can be also like asexual but gay, for example, then they would not grant you the asylum. And all of those things they have no idea about. Some refugees, they even go and then film themselves having sex in order for the IND to accept them. Wow. And yeah, they would like, I consider that rape and a violation of the bodily autonomy of someone. Right. And yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, if I would speak about the IND, I can never finish. It is such an inhumane organization, institution from A to Z. And I think many things need to be changed.
Do you think this will ever change?
It should change. I think there should be more ombudsmannen. I don't know what's the plural, ombudsman, that would be going there, because the security there, they act as if they are the police themselves. And for refugees like us, we don't know the system here. We really think that they are the authority. We really think that when we tell them something that they can, you know, whether act or not. And when they don't react, we don't know to call, you know, like 112 and right. to report things. So they really misuse that. They really right. misuse that. And that should change, because I felt very dehumanized by that.
I can imagine.
First, when I arrived in Europe, I had so much sex, and that's something so nice for me and so liberating that I finally felt that I have the ownership of my body and I can do whatever I want with it. And then I started experimenting with makeup and with my identity and sexuality, and yeah, that's something really important and beautiful. Yeah, and yeah, when I moved here to Amsterdam, was finally like I found my place. I found a very nice community, especially like COC and Pride in Sports and many other organizations that gave me a kind of safe space to grow. Right. And I owe them a lot for right. that.
In Syria, I remember I was very much afraid to have a date with a guy, because you never know, they can be thieves, they can make scandal about you. Were you afraid, or you thought nothing can happen?
Not so much, not really, because I think also in this country, like many people, they were telling me, oh, don't do this kind of things and blah blah blah. But I think even themselves, they're not free enough, and we right. mostly talk about sex in this fear and that you're gonna catch up STDs and right. I don't know, instead of talking about it in a pleasurable way. Exactly. I mean, sex is an amazing thing.
You feel like you found the freedom to be who you are and
yes.
do whatever you want.
Exactly, but this freedom, obviously, no one gave it to me except for the community. It's not the system, it's not the Netherlands, it's basically being surrounded with the community itself.
Do you feel now that it was worth it?
Definitely, freedom is always worth it. You know, I gave up everything. I gave up the comfort in speaking my mother tongue, the comfort in knowing everything about my country, the comfort of having good connections with my family, the comfort of everything, of even financially to be dependent on them for my freedom and independence. And I will not choose any other way.
Did you also make some friends here?
I made many friends from, you know, with feminists. I am so thankful because they give me so much power and I also empower them. And also a group of anarchists that they empowered me a lot, because they know also that the system, there's so many to fix, so much things to fix within. And yeah, they stood up for me and I'm very, very grateful to have them.
We're like in the most typical winter weather ever, do you have some nice warm memories?
Oh my gosh, one of the biggest is basically meeting my feminist hero, Mona Al-Tahawi. I got her book as a birthday gift. She's my favorite author. And when I got the book as a birthday gift, I put it on my Instagram and all of that, and then I tagged her, not even thinking that she's gonna see it. And then she saw it, and then she reposted my video, and then it was like so coincidentally, she was also coming to Amsterdam. And then she said to me, I hope to see you. And then when I saw her, I was like, yeah, and I couldn't believe it. That was one of the most happiest times of my life. Yeah.
About what's wrong with the system, you mentioned it a couple of times. If you could mention things that you could change about the Dutch system, what would they be?
I think fighting racism. Fighting racism, I would like very, very, very much. Because when I came to this country, I was shocked by the lack of representation on a government level by people like me. I was really, really shocked. And democracy goes about the representation of all groups. And I don't feel or see myself represented anywhere. And when you go in that, let's say, integration process, you have to do something that's called ONA, Oriëntatie in Nederlandse Markt, Arbeidsmarkt. You see all the professions that they give you, like the max that you can reach is a nurse. They would never, ever, ever tell you to go like, in a parliament or to become a mayor or something like that. Because, again, racism of lower expectations, because they cannot imagine that we can do such thing. And we have so much potential in us. And I want for all the refugees that are hearing this, to dream beyond the expectations that are being put on us. And not just, finding like a job and leaving the social benefit. No, do love this country. This is your country. This is your new country, and we're gonna change it, and we're gonna make it better for all citizens. I want to use my privilege for them, because I really do believe that one who has privilege must fight 10 times harder as someone who doesn't have privilege.
You were also active on the 2020 Pride, online version of the Pride. What did you do? Can you share your experience?
Friday's protest, yes, that was a very nice experience. I felt so much embraced by so many people, especially from the voorzitter, the chairwoman of COC Netherlands, Astrid Rosenberg. I look up to her. We are here to send a message of love and solidarity to my fellow queer and feminist Arabs who are fighting every day the good fight. And I want them to know that we hear you, we see you, and we are paying attention to you. Thank you very much. They wanted to make a protest against all the anti-LGBTQ terrorism. That's how I call it. They call it violence. As a project called the Zero Flags, and they were talking about all the punishments that LGBTQ people face elsewhere in other countries, and how they should get to the zero. And yeah, it was horrendous to see the punishments and the death sentences in other countries for just being who you are.
So you mentioned that you also wanted to be represented in politics. How are you going to do this?
Well, I am now a European Studies student, and I've been already asked by some political parties, Dutch political parties, to join them already, but I'm not going to do that before I finish my study, or at least from my study, I want to go internationally and hopefully in the European Parliament and implement change most specifically on foreign policy. And I am now actually looking for a part-time job that contributes to my study.
So, if you could time travel back in time and go back to little Alex, what would you tell him?
That never ever lose hope, and you will get there, you will be free, and you are strong, and believe in yourself. Because also lately I am always realizing how strong I am in comparison to other people, and we shouldn't compare, obviously. But when I'm hearing also the struggles of other people, I'm realizing I'm such a strong person, and I should use that and believe in myself and not to listen to anyone else that tells me that I am less than, that I am not capable of whatever. Yeah, we will all get there eventually.